Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. We first would love to thank you for watching this video today, and we hope that by the end of it, you'll have a little bit of insight into how you can improve your emotional and mental state, not just temporarily, but with sustainable results. And there are two key topics we'd like to speak to you about today. The first is positive intelligence, and the other is mental fitness. So what is this positive intelligence, or PQ, as we like to call it? PQ is the measure of mental fitness and emotional resilience. It's actually the best predictor of you or your employees' capacity to work relative to their potential. So it's about performance, it's about feeling good, it's about happiness and fulfillment. And what is this mental fitness? It's a little bit like physical fitness. We work out to become stronger in our athletic or health goals. And with mental fitness, we're literally building the muscle or the neural pathways in the brain. So the way we would define it is really your capacity to handle life's challenges with a positive mindset rather than being stressed out or upset. So again, to just repeat, mental fitness is our capacity to handle all of life's difficult challenges, especially recent things like COVID or challenges. Is COVID going away? Is it coming back? All of these things, they're underlying challenges, and mental fitness helps you deal with these in a positive way rather than with stress or burnout. So in the workplace, it's really interesting that many employees are really disengaged. We've heard about, the great resignation, people are leaving. They're not really feeling supported necessarily at work, or that there's fulfillment or meaning. And you can see in this slide a number of things that might happen to look like they're supporting the employee or you, but in the end, there's just something that's missing. And it's interesting that 80% of all CEOs consider employee and leadership training a priority, but less than 10% believe that these trainings actually provide any kind of sustainable impact. When you think about your own life at home, maybe when you have some leisure time or on the weekends, it's typical that we find something that really gives us a lot of inspiration. Even things like New Year's resolutions or a book we may have read that really inspired us. People have glimpses of feeling grounded and connected, but for some reason it doesn't stick. And the answer is a little bit interesting, and let me explain why that is. So if you think about a time just recently that you might have felt really inspired, that inspiration that gives you like these aha moments where you think, oh, I really get it. Then 3 months later, right back where you started. This is because during that engagement with whatever it is you're doing, reading or taking a course, you've got this insight, but that's only 20%, because lasting positive change requires this mental muscle, the development, the strength of your mental muscle. So to get this, it doesn't just happen naturally, it requires practice. And what we have found in our research is that it actually requires a lot of intensive practice at the beginning for 6 to 8 weeks. It's about 15 minutes a day. And what that's doing is just helping us break through our old habits and building the positive neural pathways for sustainable change. Tushar, could you share a little bit about this concept of lasting change?
Yeah, Jerry. It makes so much sense, no? New Year's resolutions, we start. You can see the gyms being full and the jogging tracks crowded in the morning. And by Valentine's Day, most of it is back to normal. So this chart shows that by mid-year, 90% of the change or improvement efforts have fizzled away. And because of that, we kind of feel like what reminds me of this Greek story, Greek mythology about the curse of Sisyphus. So what was this curse? He was relegated to pushing up this huge boulder up the hill, and it was back-breaking work. It took all day for him to roll it all the way up top. And then what would happen? The next day, it would roll back again to the valley, and he had to start all over again. So don't we sometimes feel like Sisyphus? We have these self-improvement projects and efforts that we start enthusiastically, and only to get back to where we were before we started, and sometimes worse. So that could be leadership development, that could be weight loss, that could be, improving a relationship. Doesn't matter what it is. So as Jerry kind of alluded to it, this is what is going on inside our heads. And this is answering the question that why don't change efforts last? Why do all these change efforts fizzle away soon? Because there's a battle going on inside our mind. That's the battle between the positive and negative tendencies and emotions. And most of the time, the negative side wins. Why is that? Because, when you think about it, our mind is our best friend, but it is also our worst enemy. And we are all self-sabotaging us at one point of time or another. So let me give you an example. Let's say we have an important meeting upcoming tomorrow afternoon. So when our minds tell us that we should prepare for this important meeting tomorrow, it's acting as our friend, because unprepared would have consequences. But then if it reminds you in the middle of night at 3 a.m. for the 15th time and causes you to worry, causes anxiety, at that point of time, your mind is acting as your enemy. And does it help? Not really. It's simply exhausting. You're exhausting your mental resources without any benefit at all. And so, as Jerry mentioned, the reason for that is that our PQ scores are low. And what are the PQ scores? As Jerry already mentioned, that the percentage of the time our mind is serving us versus percentage of time our mind is sabotaging us. So let's say a PQ of 50. What does it mean? A PQ of 50 means that my mind is sabotaging me half of the times and being my friend half of the times. So studies have shown that a PQ of 75 is essential. So a higher PQ, it's associated with all kinds of benefits. And I think we'll talk about it a little bit in little later in this presentation. But for now, we just wanted to emphasize that your PQ score, and the slide shows that what you achieve in life depends on a couple of things. One is obviously, your ability, which is your potential, your IQ, your experience, your network, your emotional intelligence. But how much of that you're able to utilize into achievement, that depends on your PQ score. So Jerry, you want to expand on the concept of mental fitness a little bit more?
Sure, and that makes so much sense, Tushar. I was thinking about what you said about, we spend so much time in our heads thinking about certain things to absolutely no benefit, just worrying, ruminating, and it makes so much sense. Mental fitness is truly that X factor where, remembering it's your measure of how your capacity to respond to life's challenges with positive rather than negative mindset. So that we can actually measure this is really terrific. And by improving mental fitness, you perform better, obviously, both emotionally, physically, and your relationships are bound to improve as well because you're just in a really different mindset. So this research that leads to this work is based on the synthesis of 4 branches of psychology. And I'm a big neuroscience junkie, or just a science junkie in general. So for me, this is really actually quite important. What we've done is synthesize the latest breakthroughs in these 4 areas. And that includes neuroscience, cognitive psychology, positive psychology, and performance science. And what we found from recent studies in all 4 of these branches is that psychology really, positive psychology really bridges all of these. All the 4 branches, what they're doing is they're increasing the power of your frontal cortex, and they're diminishing the energy of the amygdala, which is responsible for our negative thoughts and feelings. So positive intelligence is the result of all of these recent findings. And you can see that our research studies have been done on hundreds of CEOs and their executive teams, students from Stanford, world-class athletes, and over 500,000 participants from 50 countries. And you might be wondering, where did all of this come from? The science behind this concept is by Shirzad Chamine, and he was the CEO of the largest coaching institute in the world, and also is a C-suite advisor. He's coached dozens and dozens, hundreds of CEOs, and has been the CEO of several very successful companies. He has this book, which you can read more about in the book, but the book is the book, right? The book is 20% of the insight. It's not the mental muscle developed through the work that's required. So this is truly all about results. Teams perform better. Salespeople definitely perform better. You become more creative. You literally have a healthier physical fitness level, and studies actually show that people live longer. It's truly all about the results. And we've all heard of an MRI machine, right? So what an MRI does is it measures the neural activity and how that changes the flow of blood in the brain. So if you were to join our program, did an MRI at the beginning and did an MRI 6 or 7 weeks later, you would see an increased gray matter. And what's happening is the gray matter is in the PQ brain, you know, that frontal region of the brain where your sage lives. We call it the sage. And you'd see a decreased gray matter in the survival, sort of the reptilian brain, the amygdala, where the saboteur lives. And there are a lot of wonderful testimonials that we've had from people who have really, really been impacted by this. VP of American Express saying this was the most important training they ever experienced in their life. Another P&G VP saying about the same thing. It was the best thing they've ever done, that they had a new sense of energy and engagement. And we've also got great testimonials from the head of sales at Facebook and other P&G employees. One of the top experiences I've had, enjoying every day, not just final accomplishments. And what I think I love about this program is it really is about being present. You know, we've all heard of mindfulness and meditation. This is one thing that really brings you to the present moment in an enjoyable, sustainable way. Some of the other companies that we've worked with, P&G, Google, Philips, PayPal, Amazon, et cetera. And Tushar, just one more kind of refresher on this, on what happens in our mind.
Sure, Jerry. So as you mentioned, this is based on scientific research and application in real companies with real people. And obviously you saw real results. So remember, our mind acts as our best friend, and it also acts as our worst enemy. And we also mentioned this slide about your PQ score. It's the measure of what percentage of time your brain acts as your friend, which is the higher brain, the prefrontal cortex, versus your enemy, which is kind of acting from our survival brain or the amygdala. And so how much of our potential we realize depends on our PQ score. So our potential is, as we earlier said, is defined by many factors, which you can see. But how much of that potential we are able to realize or manifest, that depends on our PQ score. So are we stuck with the PQ score, or can we do something about it? So here's the question. Is it really possible just to shift from negative to positive response? Even in tough challenges, and we've been challenged for the last couple of years, COVID, job losses, and family problems and health issues. And can you do that in the middle of all those issues? And the answer is yes, but the speed and the depth of the shift depends on your mental fitness. So doesn't it make sense in physical fitness? So for example, would I be able to bench press 50 pounds? Well, that depends how much training I have had and how much muscle I have built. And the same way, can I handle the small stresses of life? If I built my PQ muscle, I can. And if I build it even more, then I can handle larger stress. So it's all about building PQ muscles. And so here's the good news about that. And what is the good news? As Jerry mentioned, in 6 weeks, you can see the changes in your brain with fMRI. And what is your commitment in this 6-week program to improve your PQ? Watch 1 hour weekly video, usually on the weekend or Mondays, and 15 minutes a day of practice in the app, which is available both on Android and iOS. And remember, it's about building muscle in the beginning, and that is critical to lasting habits. So that is through the app. There's also the Positive Intelligence book, the 8 chapters, both in PDF if you wanted to read it, and as an audiobook inside your own book. More importantly, there is cohort of peers for both support and accountability. So you will be taking this journey with fellow participants on the same journey, and weekly live coaching sessions with Jerry and I. And best of all, you still get 1 year access to the app, the content, and you can practice for an entire year and keep building your muscle and see your progress. Actually, there's a muscle meter, PQ meter inside the app as well. So Jerry and I will be facilitating this 6-week PQ program to build your positive intelligence muscle. And it will include weekly live coaching sessions as well as daily app practice for 15 minutes. So let me introduce Jerry. She has been a leadership coach for over a decade, and she has taught yoga and mindfulness internationally. She's studying organizational psychology at Harvard, and she's passionate about helping leaders feel happy as well as engaged.
Thank you so much, Tushar. And I'd love to I'm honored to introduce Tushar. He has coached over 300 leaders across 4 different continents. People Hum named him a top 100 global influencer this year, 2021. And he's passionate about leadership development. He really believes that it's the best lever available to make the world a better place, one leader at a time. Tushar and I are both certified coaches in positive intelligence. And this methodology, we work with Shahzad Shamim to bring it to groups, individuals, and teams. What we'd love for you to do now is take your complimentary PQ assessment. You'll see the link for that at the bottom of your screen. And here's a detailed schedule of our 6-week program so that you can see it's pretty action-packed, but it's not overwhelming at all. It is 6 weeks of intensive practice, but it's really a benefit as it builds the mental muscle. And it's about 1 or 2 hours on a weekend that includes listening to a video, doing some contemplation, and 15 minutes of daily practice. And that is my favorite part. These 15 minutes, it's not like you just sit down for 15 minutes. Throughout the day, you will receive some gentle reminders that really get you engaged and centered throughout the day. You'll notice the effects fairly immediately. We'll talk to you more about that 6-week boot camp in another video, but now truly do go ahead and take your PQ assessment. You'll be getting some emails from Shahzad that reinforce the value of PQ. And if you'd like, you can actually take the PQ assessment a few times so that we get a nice average. You know, you might have a bad day, you might have an exceptional day. We want to get a nice average so we can really help you move the dial on your PQ score.
Fantastic, Jerry. And we look forward to seeing you in our next video where we can explain how you can improve your PQ score significantly. And if we were able to hook your brains to fMRI, we could show you how it changes your brain as well, just in 6 weeks. So thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, you can connect with us. The details are on the slide. And please go ahead and take your PQ assessment. We'll be in touch. We look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks again.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.